Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. And today we're going to learn how to kick some narcissist ass. And I'm okay with that. But first, I'm going to give you a little info about me and my business. Okay, so one thing I want to let you know, I have switching hours. My clock rotates forward. I'm going to just leave it at that. So for right now, I'm waking up early in the morning. So I'm available from about 5 o'clock California time till about 5 p.m. California time. In the near future, it'll be a little bit later in the day, say 9 till about 9 o'clock at night, and then 10 to 10, 11 to 11, etc. So it rotates forward. So if you're in another country, all you have to do is wait a little bit of time and I'll sync up with your daytime when I'm at nighttime, when I'm awake at night, okay? So if you're in another country, don't worry, you won't have to stay up late at night. Unless you want to talk to me while it's daytime here during my time. Hopefully that made sense. So I work with people from all kinds of countries around the world. And remember, I'm a professionally trained life coach, personal development coach with over 12 years of study, training, certification. Tony Robbins was one of the people I trained with for many, many years. I also trained with the largest NLP training company in the world in Costa Mesa and also Hawaii. That's under Dr. Tad James. I also studied under AIH, American Institute of Hypnotherapy, and a couple of other companies, including John Overdurf on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. I'm also a trained and certified energy healer. I'm trained in Reiki, Huna, Pranic healing, and I also trained with the masters, one of them being Buddha Kam from Laos. Coaching sessions, energy healing sessions, and emotional healing sessions are available now. One thing I do want to mention, when I say I trained for 12 years, I mean I was constantly going to 5-week trainings, 3-week trainings, year-round for 12 years. And in the beginning, that included going to college full-time studying psychology. Not to mention, I've read over 400 books on NLP, hypnosis, psychology, human behavior, sales, business, etc., etc. Anything to do with human change. It's actually a bit more, but I'll leave it at that. I'm going to lower the music in about 10 seconds. Okay, so how to keep a narcissist in check and how to make them walk on eggshells. So for those of us who have dealt with narcissist abuse, you get really sick and tired of it after a while. The question is, what do you do with it, or how do you deal with it? So I had a really unique experience about 5 days ago. I'm going to talk about that guy again, but not really talking about, there's one single thing that he did that really kind of brought up something that I've been doing for a while now, not quite consciously aware to the extent that I've been doing it. So here's what happened. So this was the guy who was about 5 videos back or so. I think it was about smashing your illusions, that one. I'm not quite sure if that was the video. But I bumped into this guy, and he was, we started talking, and he had problems with drugs and all that stuff, and he was essentially homeless to some degree. And something happened that was it was like a big smack in the face. Like, it really caught my attention. So here's what happened. So I was talking about how I was a personal development coach, and he didn't really think I understood his pain at all. And I said, no, let me explain, my story. Because a lot of people, when they meet me, like, yeah, you don't understand what pain's like. Like, they think, like, oh, you've just lived this. I've actually had people tell me, like, dude, you don't even understand what other people have gone through. You've lived such a blessed life and such a this. And then when they hear my story, they're like, holy shit, I did not know that. So I was essentially giving him, like, hey, man, I think you're wrong on this. And I explained it to him. He's like, oh, Jesus. He goes, that's pain on another level. So then he started to explain what was going on with him, because I thought, let me see if I can help this guy real quick. Because sometimes if I can get the root, I can pop it out and they can be healed of whatever their ailment is. So regardless, we started talking and stuff, and he was telling me his story. And at first I was like, is this guy like jerking my chain, or is he being a smartass, or like what the hell is this? essentially he had an absolute fear of failure because he felt like he wasn't good enough. Now, I've made about 2 or 3 videos about this experience I've had with this guy. And one of them was, are you good enough? In fact, that's in the thumbnail of the video I made. So that was about 2 or 3 videos ago. So I'm gonna go quick through this. So he essentially told me how his mother just overly praised him, would call his cousins and relatives and neighbors and grandparents and aunts and uncles anytime he did any little tiny thing. And now I'm looking at this guy like, yeah, I'm not really seeing the problem here. She's praising you. She's speaking well of you. Because you don't understand. Like, everyone looks at me like they have this expectation of me that I'm supposed to be the next Neil Armstrong. I'm supposed to be the next, Tiger Woods. I'm supposed to be the next, world champion kickboxer. I'm supposed to be the next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. He goes, I'm not that good. But everyone around me looks at me like, well, when are you going to do these great things? And he goes, so he is college educated. He's got educated in computer science, and he was really good at it. Got hired at this one company, was designing these apps and doing this great stuff. But he just had this feeling like, I'm not good enough. So the typical empath in me said, oh no, you're a good person. I started complimenting the guy. Now, he didn't use that word. So I started telling him he's a good person. He speaks well, communicates well. He has social skills. I'm like, hey man, not many, guys, because he was about 30 years old or something like that. I go, not many guys your age have a skill at that level. Not to mention, you can really, you're very social. You have social skills. You can communicate with a total stranger like nothing. Like, most guys don't have that. And he literally gets up because, man, I got to go. And he was kind of pissed. And I'm like, what? Okay, it made no sense. And I'm like, he was kind of perturbed, kind of pissed. And he instantly got up because I got to go, and walked away. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. And that's the secret. So I went into the store, bought some stuff. I came back out, and he had actually came back to the parking lot and said, hey man, can I talk to you about something else? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because when you talk about this, I'm like, yeah. And again, I started to compliment him. Hey man, you're a really cool dude. He goes, yeah, I get it, man. He goes, I gotta go. And he got up and walked away like he was pissed again. I'm like, what a weird dude. I'm in California and we still use the word dude. So anyways, all right, check this out. So I can't remember what happened, but he came back around and we started talking about something else, and I started to compliment him again. And now, mind you, he didn't tell me what I was doing wrong. And he gets up and goes, yeah, I get it, dude, I get it. You're just like my mom. I'm the greatest thing next to the apple pie. I'm this great thing. He goes, dude, I didn't do anything to earn that. So I started laughing. I go, it's that bad? He goes, I can't stand it when people speak well of me. I'm thinking, wow, it's kind of a weird problem. But it was the abruptness that really caught my attention, how he would just get up and go. He wouldn't say nothing. He like in the mid-sentence, I'm not even completing a thought, boom, he walked. He just instantly got up and walked. And that's the secret to this video. In fact, I had just done this to someone about 10 days ago. Someone who was being very negative. It wasn't being positive, but they were being extremely negative. And I finally looked at them like, hey man, blah, blah, blah. And I called them on it. And they go, oh, well, and they tried to defend it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm out of here. I literally walked away. Like, I didn't wait a full second. I said, okay, then I'm out of here. And I walked. Never been back since. Now, here's what this does. It keeps you from connecting to the negativity. How to explain this? It also keeps them from connecting to the negativity in a positive way. Because here's the deal. All narcissists want is attention. They're literally like little children because they're using the child brain, the reptilian brain. It's a very instinctual brain. There's no thinking going on. So you can condition these people very easily. Now, just hold on a little bit. I'm leading up to what that is and how to do that. So in NLP, we learn about something called anchors. Anchors are neurological connections to a certain emotion from something that triggered it. Now, this goes to Pavlov and the dog, where Pavlov would starve a dog for 2 days or 3 days, maybe not starve it, but wouldn't feed it for a while, and then it would be hungry, and then it would put it in a room with nothing, so the dog's just normal, and then he opens a small little door towards the ground and shoves some food out, and it was steak, and the dog would just salivate and blah blah blah, and they ring a bell. So at first the steak made the dog salivate, the smell and the look of it, but then they connected the bell to the salivation, to this intense state. So they did this to this dog. I don't know how many times they did it. Maybe, it's funny, in every textbook, they change it. Some say they did it 7 times, 7 days. Some people say 12, 15, whatever. But the point is, they kept ringing the bell when the dog was in this heightened state. And that's the key word, heightened state. If it's a normal state, well, just anchor a normal state and nothing will happen. So it's in this heightened state. It was hungry for 2 days, and then they finally fed it, and they shoved the food out, and the dog got, this intense look and salivate, ring the bell, and made that connection. So then one day, they put the dog in the room. There's no food, and the dog wasn't particularly hungry. It just ate earlier that morning, and yet they rang that bell one time, and boom, that dog went into heightened state, and it started to salivate, and even the dog, you could tell it got this confused look on its face, like, why am I doing this? I'm not even hungry. That is an anchor. You can have positive anchors, you can have negative anchors. So the deal with most people, especially children and narcissists, is any attention is good attention. So one of the things I teach my clients is when a child or someone is doing something that's very negative, turn away. Literally turn your back on them. Walk into the other room. Ignore them. Act like you don't even notice. Walk away. Because what happens is they don't connect attention or energy to it, and that's what they want, especially narcissists and children. And like I said in the past video, it's the same thing with children. If your child is crying, don't hug it right away. Say, hey, look at that over there. It interrupts their pattern. If you can interrupt the pattern of sadness and then hug them, they will connect that to love. Otherwise, if you hug them right away, they're connecting that to deep sadness, hurt, and pain. And now you're building up a negative anchor. To where one day they're in a really good mood, they're happy, they're upbeat, everything is going good. You go to hug them and boom, you trigger that sadness, you trigger that hurt. And over a period of time, they'll connect that to you, and they don't know why, but suddenly they don't want to be around you. And they don't really have a logical reason. They might make up reasons and say, well, I think it's this, or when you did that. No, it really isn't that. It's the negative anchor. Now, I had a client who had his master's degree in psychology, and he was working with children through this company in the East Bay, here in the Bay Area in San Francisco, or in the Bay Area just outside of San Francisco. So during my dating relationship coaching course, Cracked Female Code, there's a couple things that I'll teach men to help them improve their relationship and make sure you don't make these negative connections on accident. So what I told him was, hey, let's say you've been in a long-term relationship or long enough, and your girlfriend or wife starts flipping out, yelling and screaming, maybe even smashing things, and she's really in a rage. This can be the other way around, ladies. It could be the same thing if a man's flipping out and just kind of out of control, being ridiculous, very hostile and angry. In this case, I'm working with a guy, so I'm use the word for woman. So he goes, well, what do you do? I go, well, if someone's like kind of hysterical, flipping out, like they're really just being unreasonable, just quietly and calmly, grab your coat, grab your keys, walk out, get in your car and go to a bar, go to your buddies, go watch a movie, just be gone for at least 2 hours or more. And he goes, no, you're supposed to sit down and talk it out, Mike. That's what they teach us in psychology. And I'm like, yeah, have you noticed the divorce rates like literally through the roof in this country? And he kind of giggled and said, yeah, that's true, huh? I was like, yeah. I go, because they're teaching you guys a lot of stuff that is making things worse. So at this point he agreed, and he thought, and it opened his mind. He's like, okay, so he was ready to listen. So we did argue a bit more. Remember in part of the argument, I think it was before that part though, before he started to open up, but he said something, no, this is what they teach in psychology, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. How old are you? And I think he was like 30 years old or 32, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I'm like, okay. So are your parents still married? He's like, yeah. I go, how long have they been married? He's like, well, longer than I've been, like they were married before I was born. So about 34 plus years. He goes, yeah. And I said, let me guess. When your mom and dad get in an argument, I'm going to bet you $50 right now. I bet your dad quietly walks over, grabs his coat, grabs his keys, doesn't even look at your mother, doesn't say anything, and just walks out the door while she's arguing, yelling. He doesn't slam the door, he shuts it quietly, and he leaves. And he giggled. He goes, he does. He grabs his coat and keys and he goes to the bar for about 2 hours. And I said, no, don't finish. Let me finish, because I know what happens next. Let me guess. When he comes in the door, your mother runs to him, hugs him, kisses him, and says, what do you want for dinner? And he's like, and he starts to laugh. He goes, she does. That's exactly what happened. I go, so, because he was trying to convince me that, well, isn't that going to make a relationship worse? Isn't it going to make her angrier? And then I said, when he comes home, I bet she's happy to see him. She's glad. And he starts laughing. He goes, oh my God, that's exactly what happens. Here's why. When you turn away, when you walk away, when you don't argue back, there's no negative connection. And now here's the other thing. When you abruptly stand up and walk away, it's a pattern interrupt. It interrupts the pattern. So there's no connection to a negative emotion or negative energy. There's no anchor. This is a very, very healthy thing to do. That's why when a child is hurting, you hurt its hand or it's crying or something really sad, you don't want to hug it or touch it or whatever. You want to look to the right or look at that over there, and just kind of abruptly change the subject, like kind of loud, and interrupt them. And they do, and then you can hug them because now they're connecting love and positive emotions. So when the father walks in the door, that's the equivalent of saying, hey, look over there, and then you hug them. And the mother comes in and hugs them, and now she's connecting this amazing love and positive emotional connection. Now, he starts to giggle, and I go, what's so funny? He goes, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what? He goes, this is exactly what they teach us at the center that I work at, where we work with children. He goes, we tell the parents the exact same thing. When your child is acting up, yelling and screaming, etc., turn around, walk into the other room, walk away. So he's kind of giggling. He's, oh my God, this is exactly what I do with children. And with the parents, I teach them the same thing. I'm like, yeah, because it works. If you don't do that, what you're going to do is you're going to stack negative anchors. Okay, and this is what ruins families. They don't realize they're doing this. Their child gets hurt. They go to hug them. Oop, there's a negative anchor. This is literally a trauma bond. This is what narcissists do on purpose. They hurt you, and then they want to connect love to that. And then on an unconscious level, you think, oh, emotional pain means they love me. And this is why people don't leave bad relationships. And yet, they're in pain all the time. And see, these are the people that think pain is love. No, it's not. How many times have you heard someone say, oh, and they're like, oh, they're so mean to you. They did this. And like, oh, well, they didn't mean that. That's their way of expressing their love. And most people would look at them like, I remember the first time a woman said this to me, and I looked at them like, that's love? What? They even make movies about this. That's a trauma bond. Now let's go back to children or people that are immature. What do they tell you? They say, look, for these people, any attention is good attention. All they want is attention. They even teach you to do this with dogs. If a dog is doing something bad and you give it attention, it's like, oh, okay, so this is how I get love. This is how I get petted. This is how I get what I want. So they tell you, whether you're working with a dog or a child, they say, look, if they're doing something bad, don't give them attention, because that's what they really want. They want the energy of being paid attention to. If you ignore them, their brain, it's literally the reptilian brain goes, okay, this isn't working, so what am I going to do? So then when it does more positive things, then you give them attention. Got it? So now, how do you apply this to a narcissist? So the minute you notice a narcissist is gaslighting you, you walk away. You literally physically turn around and walk away. Do not say anything. Don't say, hey, I'm going to turn my back on you because I don't like when you gaslight me. Just turn away, walk away, and go. That's it. Because what does the narcissist really want? He wants energy. He wants attention. Only give them attention when they're treating you well. Now, if they go to either extreme, from either love bombing, which is extreme, it's over the top, or to the opposite when they're being negative and cutting you down and being negative and arguing and disagreeing. So when they're doing either end of this, either extreme, you turn around and you walk away. Because love bombing is a form of manipulation and it's used to control. I knew someone whose daughter would do this. It was just an instinctual thing. I think it was really a self-esteem, self-preservation thing. When her father would do this narcissistic stuff, she would just... I remember going, no, where's she going? He goes, I don't know. She just gets up and leaves all the time. She had self-respect. She was essentially saying, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not dealing with this. So essentially... what if you just got up and walked away the split second they were rude, disrespectful, mean, gaslighting, or they lied to you? The minute you start to think they're lying, just turn and walk away. And do it every damn time. Now only accept pleasant, respectful, kind, and polite responses. That's it. Not over the top love bombing. See, if you stay while they're love bombing, it's a form of manipulation. So no love bombing, no extreme swing to being mean, demeaning, or hostile, or super manipulative, or love bombing. The minute they do either one, walk. So you turn your back, you walk out. So you must be decisive. You must be willing to leave, period. If they're negative, they're rude, they're overly love bombing, overly charming, just walk out. Just go. If you're on the phone, hang it up. And if they call back and what'd you do that for? And you're like, do what? Just act like you don't even know what they're talking about. They know, and if they start getting angry, hang it up again. They'll figure it out. So essentially what you're saying here is, just respect me. Be kind. Be respectful. Or I'm out. Period. Now, they don't have to be a narcissist to do this to. Number one, yes, this is how you treat narcissists. You don't want either end of the scale because both are manipulation. You're essentially saying like, yeah, I'm not putting up with that. Now, let's just say it's just a rude, mean jerk. Do it to them too. They'll figure it out. Here's the deal. People that actually have a healthy self-esteem and self-respect, they do this unconsciously. It's kind of like, this is what I noticed with me with narcissists. You know how they say to gray rock a narcissist? This is a form of gray rocking. You're not giving them... See, gray rocking literally means give them zero emotions. No happiness, no highs, no lows, and just turn around and walk out. Like, yeah, it's like you're just saying, I'm not doing this with you. So gray rocking literally means I'm not giving you any energy. No positive, no negative, nothing. It's just a respectful, cordial, relationship. Someone you work with, someone you live with, whatever. It's like that's all you do. In fact, there's no emotions. There's no negative emotions either. You're just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. After a period of time when you got really, really, really hurt and you went into that dark night of the soul, this literally, you start to do this unconsciously because you come to a point where you're like, I'm not doing this with, and not necessarily this gray rocking thing, whatever you want to call it. You're just like, I'm done getting hurt by people. And you start to change. It's like when people, see, you're like, I've been hurt so deeply, so bad that when someone else does it again, you're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And you just leave the relationship. You're not willing to fight for someone's love. You're not willing to fight through this bullshit because it's just bullshit. If you have to fight for someone to love you, guess what? They don't love you. It was all a game. They're just using you, they're hurting you, or they're wasting your time. Any and all of those are bad. So just walk. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at the Church of Awesome. God bless you guys. I sincerely hope this video helped you. I hope it was kind of fun. I had fun making it, actually. If you like this video, click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and if you want, there's a donation PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.